Okay, so welcome everybody to Nutritional Energetics. Some of you know me as the owner of the Lake Clear Lodge in the Adirondacks. We run a beautiful lodge, came here years ago to really turn it into a rejuvenation center. And we'll get into it with Sharry Edwards here, our guest, on how I am using her work in my lodging as well and the rejuvenation center. But some of you know me as a chef or a lodge owner with my family. Others of you know me as the creator of Nutritional Energetics, which I call fun with food, frequency, and fun. It's not all about the food, it's about the energy and the frequency, even though I do actually do cooking classes and get into nutrition, but not the same way as probably let's say a clinical nutritionist or whatever. So I have a whole lot of fun working in 9 dimensions of embodiment, and I just really love it. And so we're going to get to our talk with Sharry Edwards here, who has honestly saved my life through her work. And Sharry, hi, thanks for being here.
It's great to be here.
So a few years ago, actually, I think I've been with Sharry's work for about a little over a year now. I have been diving down the rabbit hole of frequency and energy, like a lot of people do. And somehow, Sharry, years ago, when you had Nano Voice, which Sharry will talk about probably as well, when you had that, a friend of mine, she and I downloaded that, but I always knew I would never probably end up at the time going to Ohio to take classes. So I remember seeing your work, I don't know how long ago. And thank goodness that same friend said, "Oh, you got to see Sharry Edwards' work. You can take classes and such." And I logged on and I went there. And there was a class starting up right away. And you and Roberta you got me in, and I have been mesmerized by the math, and like knowing yourself. They say know yourself, and you can now know yourself through math and frequency, and it's absolutely amazing. So, Sharry, maybe you want to give us a little background or let people know how you came into this, and maybe in a nutshell, if it's possible, what you do.
Well, I like what you just said, know yourself. So, yes, we can do that through a computer program, but the problem with most of that know yourself, people don't trust that they know themselves.
Hmm.
And so, as we look at people's voice that we think is a holographic representation of all that your brain is doing, then you can lie with your words, but you can't lie with the sounds of your voice, whether you're trying to choose one job over the other, one relationship over the other. Everything in the universe is frequency, and sound is just one form of frequency. Color is frequency, um, olfactory sense is frequency, light is frequency. And what we've been able to do is take a vocal print and look at the frequencies of your voice and pull that apart based on some ancient ideas in astrology and look at all of the octaves and groupings of all of the sounds. And we know that people with similar sounds in their voice have similar issues. And so in the last 30, 40 years, because we started in the early 80s, we've been able to put that into a computer program that we can share with everybody. My first program was the Nano Voice that you're talking about, and I developed it out of my degree in interpersonal communication. And I did it because I saw so much lying in the world on TV and politics, and even in college and professors and friends. And I thought, what would happen if we all had a tool that we could tell if we were lying to ourselves, if we were lying to others? So we put that program out, that probably the one you were talking about, and we put it out for free. And it was not long until somebody took it and started selling it. And so we had to put a stop to that because I feel like this ought to be free to humanity because I think truth is really important to humanity.
Hmm. Now, Sherry, you did this in terms of computer programs. How long ago?
82 that came out.
Okay. But before that, you had your own ability without a computer program, correct?
Yes, my ears are mutated, so I don't know if I'm a throwback or a throw forward, but I hear sounds from people. I think most people do, but they don't pay attention. I was so lucky. I was adopted by a family in Appalachia, and we didn't have any electricity, not even running water, not inside plumbing. So I was in nature with all the sounds of nature. And I think my hearing just developed differently from other people. There's something called a sacculus in your ear that dolphins have, and it allows them to tell what's up and what's down underwater. My sacculus is activated. I think it comes from a near drowning experience when I was really young. And so I hear sounds from people. And we didn't really understand that until we found Johns Hopkins University was doing experiments by sticking a wire in people's ear, and they call it an otoacoustic emission that's coming out of your ear. And I think that's what we forgot to listen to, but it tells us a lot about the other guy
Mm-hmm.
and tells us what's really going on without all the oughts and shoulds and judgments.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we created it. We created it to look at music, to look at all the notes, C, C sharp, and so forth, and divide those up and to see what they indicated. Like people with C usually have some muscle issues or heart issues. C sharp is connective tissue, D is liver. And we just put that together by trial and error. I did not start doing this deliberately. I think it just has a life of its own, and I'm just tagging along.
I mean, Sharry, as a and Sharry will tell us how anybody can actually learn this and learn from Sharry and get the programs, and even if it's just to help your family. Um, I got it probably to. I was like, things happened a couple years ago. I thought, oh my goodness, we need to know, and I kind of tagged on right when that happened. And I mean, like I said, I was telling Sharry, I mean, this pretty much, I believe, saved my life because I was able to. I started having some crisis issues. I've never been sick. I run around, anybody that knows me, I run around 24/7. We homeschooled kids. We, built our lodge. We operate our lodge. I'm the chef. So I need energy. And I think that was my impetus of searching for energy because my fear has always been to have not enough energy. Like I always said, oh, I never want mono. Um, I was always afraid of being tired. I'm always afraid of being tired. So now I found, no, I know how to look at myself. And then when I was going through my crisis, I looked at my nutrition through the program, so I knew what I was high or low with, and I either did that through food, supplement, or frequency, providing myself with a frequency. I looked at my muscles to see what was in stress, and then I looked at the different programs like heart and lung and liver, and I looked at those, and I could see the literal, right, biochemicals, vitamins, minerals, all those things. Just, I literally took this to heart, every pun intended, and I just did it. And I did the frequencies. And Sharry, I have to tell you, when I was working last Christmas, I could barely breathe, and I had to get through. Like, there's nobody can take our place in our to operate. And we had 40 people a night, and I literally had the tone box with oxygen in my ears, and that's the way I could walk. I know it works because I could feel whenever oxygen came through the tones, I could tell because I could feel my lungs fill up. I would just take a breath. So I kept oxygen. When I felt my breathing was labored, I just kept that tone box right around the headphones right around my neck, and I just kept it going, and I could just feel, I would go and I could feel my lungs just fill up. So I know this works. I absolutely know this works. I mean, maybe I had to go through this to figure this out. I don't know, but this is amazing stuff.
Well, I'd like to share with your audience two or three different things that you brought up.
Mhm.
One about the foods.
Mhm.
People are attracted to certain colors, and the colors are a frequency that they need. but people are also attracted, and we found out that the colors of foods really have a relationship to the frequency. And so that's one of the first softwares we gave to people. And we do give away the software. We give away a whole class for people. If they want to go to Sound Health Options and go to classes, when you sign up, they give you softwares of nutrition and softwares of muscles so you can learn to do this. I think this is our future, that we have messed up ourselves. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's okay. No problem. I can chat forever and tell people how this is just amazing because um, I also do a program called I actually do a program called The Colors of Foods, but not to that intensity until I found bioacoustics. Now I'll be adding that. So yeah, just amazing colors, frequencies. You know, people know, but you're putting it together in practical use.
And trying to get it to the people. Take carrots, for instance. The fruit of a carrot is yellow, orange, but the flower is white, the Queen Anne's lace flower. So you have to consider those two together. So I think it's really important. My wish, my rose-colored wish for the world is that everybody has this. And that's why we try to make it free for everybody. Because, like, I sent an article to you, I hope you share with people. Everybody has a sound. And we seek to balance that sound. When the sperm and the egg come together and they create a zygote, a new being, the first thing that's created is ATP. And the frequency of that is white light. I think that's awesome. But it gets more awesome because when you die, the ATP begins to implode and you see this brilliant, bright white light and it's stored in the eye. And so when you're dying and you see that white light, I think it's the end or the opposite of the conception where the life force is leaving this corporeal body. But it's just an awesome kind of idea to think that we all start with the white light, and the frequency of that is halfway between our musical notes of B and C. So we start with C, C sharp, D, and so forth, around to the note of B. And between B and C octaves, while it goes to another level, that's where the white light is. And then we start with C, and the heart begins to develop. Then the liver develops, and that's a note of D. Then the lungs develop, and that's a note of C. So we follow that progression of frequencies that we really identify better as color.
Yeah, amazing. And I know Sharry does Sunday classes to the folks, her practitioners, the folks who take the classes, and we always sit there and wait for the next kind of really cool tip and you know and drop of amazing things that you find out all the time.
Well, the thing that I'm learning right now, we do free vocal prints for people on our online workstation, the Sound Health portal, and people have given us about 2,000 vocal prints. We always give them something back. If they choose detox, we'll give them a report about their body and detox. But what we have found, the people that have had COVID or have had the shots, a lot of them are reporting fatigue. And so we took about 524 of those graphs and we looked at fatigue and found out that there's a direct relationship. And we published this in December of 2019. There's a direct relationship with iron and the use of iron, the metabolism of iron. And so what we have done is put an entire database together for what happens to iron in the body. For instance, something like ferrochelatase. That's one of the steps that your body needs to create iron in a way that your body can use it. If you eat raisins, there's lots of iron in raisins, but your body can't use raisin iron. It has to change it into a form that the body can use. So that ferrochelatase is the last, it's a preparatory step in using iron. And that's one of the major things that COVID really damages. And when you consider Parkinson's and the ALS and MS, the things that deal with the muscle, we're finding that a lot of the times that last step of ferrochelatase is unable to work. Now we can identify that by a frequency.
Mm-hmm.
They have to take a whole lot of conventional tests, blood tests and that kind of thing to find that out, even if they're looking for it. But math is so incredible. It tells us things and fills in the gaps that conventional medicine doesn't even consider.
Yeah, and this is non-invasive. I mean, you like you said, you could go to, wherever you needed to get, blood tests or, hair analysis or all that sort of thing. This is just through a voice print. And I just want to make sure that everybody listening knows I will share all these links and how to get to Sound Health, how to get a vocal print, how to work with me or other practitioners that you can find lists of. Early on when I first started with you, I looked at the practitioner list, and I just, not that you need to do it close to someone, and I just looked at the list and chose a practitioner and started in while I was starting the classes. So that was really interesting to work with a practitioner and get the reports and see so much detail. It's almost overwhelming. But if you delve into it, you're going to find something that you understand and that pertains to you and your way of dealing with the issue, and to follow through to see how it changes too.
And it's all interrelated.
Hmm.
I used to have a very weak thumb. I got stung and bent and banged it in a door, and it's still kind of swollen, but it made my hands not be able to unscrew a lid. And so I worked on it. I found out it was the frequency, the same frequency as zinc. So what we do is give people the frequency of zinc, or we give them the food that contains zinc, and we get the same result. And it's still a real early color of red. So I bet we could do it with color too, but we get so much more sound, uh, I don't know what to call it, cuts. Like red's red, and there's orange red, and there's blue red. But with sound, there's 94 different degrees of red.
Wow.
And so, which do you choose for you? Because
Hmm.
the body is very specific in what it needs, and it's very individual. And the body's muscles are very redundant. Like the two programs we give you, if the thumb is out, we know you need zinc. If the latissimus dorsi right under your armpit is out, we know you need choline.
Hmm.
So whoever created us did a really good job of
Hmm.
being redundant and being able to tell, oh, my cheek hurts, and so that's this. And so we help people. Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to use the word diagnose, but we help people diagnose by just where their pain is in their muscles. And that will usually lead us to the food or the nutrition that they need. And that's the kind of thing that we share with people,
Hmm.
even in the free classes. And when you've taken the class, even the free class is not just a little dippy thing, it's a really in depth, here's the information, let's go.
Hmm. Well, what I find funny is that I've always, and I would say hated math, but all the way even through college, even though I took it, I was like, I don't understand math. It doesn't make sense to me. But this, I will dive into. And I was telling Sherry last night, I sat for hours just looking at reports and the frequencies for certain things is just totally fascinating. And to me, it just makes. I mean, I've never looked at math this way before, and I dive right into this as the frequency and the math. And what I found also fascinating when you're talking about muscles, you've created that people can buy, I believe. You can buy the muscle charts that have the nutrients of the body related to the muscles. I'm probably not even explaining that right, but I have those charts, and that is amazing, amazing work.
Um, that's an awesome thing to hear you say, and I really needed it today because there's so many things going on that tells me to move on and do something else. Our heat was off, our telephone went out, our internet went out. And when I get signals like that, it's the universe is trying to stop me in some way, and it makes me fight harder. Thank you for mentioning that, because I think that is a tremendous piece of information that we are frequencies. And what we've done, the DNA creates the pattern. And what we found is a way to drop into the RNA, the proteins that keep the pattern. And here's a leap. It tells me that if we can change you, have dominion over you, over your muscles with a sound, are we robots?
Mm-hmm.
Did somebody create us in some image of being a sound-based robot? When you look at some of Sigmund Gates' work, he and his students out of Brown University did a study on food and plants in the yard. And they looked at the biology of that and found computer code inside the DNA of the plants. Are plants put here for us to heal ourselves with the plants? If we could decode all of the frequencies for the plants as well, it's medicine. I think we do some of that intuitively.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that it tells me is this computer code they found in plants. He related it to the fix-it code in our DNA. So plants and humans have this relationship of supporting each other. But it points to me that we can control our being and our metabolism and our thoughts and our spirituality through frequencies. Does that make us a robot?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
I
then
can't.
the other thing it brings up is, can, if others know the frequencies, are we affected by other frequencies? On a milder, we could go into that a long ways, but on a milder thing, I love your keynote frequencies that you put out. I've been posting them on one of my support forums, just to say, hey, if you find these are happening, let me know. And people are going, wow, these are spot on. So what I'm talking about is, Sharry, on the Sound Health Options, I believe, website, which again will give you all these links. You can find out the keynotes for the month, and you can tell what, if you're susceptible to something like MSG or something like that, if these frequencies, and you can explain it further, Sharry, but I've been going, oh, I know someone susceptible to MSG, and I'll say, hey, you might want to be a little more careful this week or this month. So it's
Yes.
not a scare tactic to say, oh my God, you're going to get bombarded by this. But to me, and we could create whole programs out of this, is here's what's going on this week or this month in terms of cosmic frequencies, if you will. And maybe we can watch out for, like the other day my knee started hurting out of the blue, and I'm like, what the heck? So I checked the keynotes, and sure enough, there was the frequency of the knee was stressed that week. So those are kind of really cool things that we can look at, that I love that you put those out.
Well, you mentioned cosmic frequencies, and there's frequencies coming to us through the earth or to the earth from outer space all the time, and we're influenced by them.
Right.
Just like the tides are influenced by these frequencies, we're 90% water, and so we're influenced by them also. So when you look at, well, for instance, the knee, was it the front of the knee or the back of the knee?
Oh, I don't remember. I don't
Okay,
remember.
well, the back of the knee has a little muscle diagonal. And when that muscle gets weak, it's the same frequency as the heart. So be extra careful with the heart when your knees start to hurt. Add magnesium and other things that
Mm-hmm.
are the same frequency as the knees.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that idea of looking at what's happening to the body by a frequency and those keynotes. And I'd like to add the keynote, we just did it for December, and it comes out in Masters of Health magazine. So thank you for publishing it. But this month, it's a lot of back muscles, upper and lower back, and it's a lot of heart issues. So people who have heart issues think twice about eating that big greasy burger because there's heart issues coming out or by to the plant. Can I tell a story about one of our clients?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
His name is Denny, and his heart was thickening, and they put in a pacemaker to keep it going. And his daughter got in touch with us and said, "Do you think you can do this?" And I said, "I don't know. Let's try because we never know what's going to happen until we do it, and in combination with everybody's individual frequencies."
Mm-hmm.
And so we got his vocal print. We made him a tone box, which is a little carry around thing that they listen with headphones like music. Oh, you have one you're going to show?
Yeah, you can keep talking and I'll get the tone box.
Okay. So we put him on the sounds and we just used what was the sounds in his voice that seemed stressed. Yes, we have a heart fixer kind of template. And I think it was about 3 months later, his heart, they retested it, and the frequencies that we had given him in combination with who he was in his frequencies caused the heart muscle to unthicken to the point where they had to unhook the pacemaker. And I haven't heard from him in a couple of months, but to be able to give you a frequency that would decrease the thickness of your heart that was causing your heart stress, I think is a miracle. And I think we knew this from early on. We just forgot.
Mm-hmm.
We forgot how to listen to other people's sounds. We forgot how to use the sounds of the plants and the animals and the universe. And I think that's where we go in meditation when we can listen to our own body sounds. We've written an article called If You Can Moan, You Can Tone. So toning for your own sounds is the best thing you can do. You don't need anything I'm doing, any microphones or whatever. You carry this with you all the time, but people are too busy to listen to that sound that comes from their ears. So I'll send you that article so you can share it with people.
Okay. Yeah, and I've um come to understand that yeah, humming is basically your own biofeedback, right? So
Yes.
humming in the shower is the absolute best thing you can do. You've got water, you've got sound, and you've got you've got your own sound booth. So humming in the shower is one of the best things you can do.
And to just let your natural sound come out. If you start with an ah sound and end with an ooh, like ooh, and put your teeth together, oh, it no matter high, low, when you get the sound that makes your teeth vibrate, keep going. It makes your face vibrate, your muscles, and that's your sound for your moment right now. When we take your vocal print, it's static. It happened this time of day on this day. It's much better for you to listen to your own sounds and try to duplicate them than it is for you to listen to anything I have to say.
Well, you have a lot, so much wisdom, Sharry. My goodness, I just love all the little tidbits. I don't have the bigger tone box, but what I have is BioBody. This one is what we call a dedicated tone box, and this one keeps me pain-free and running around my lodge all day long. I love BioBody. Um, it's I literally I like if I have any start with any aches and pains. I mean, I've been lucky. I've been working on myself. I've been doing things, and I can run around still. And heck, I'm early 60s. I'm still kind of running circles around the kids that I hire sometimes, and it's amazing, and that's what I want to do. I don't want to be sedentary. I love running around, but I love sitting and doing this stuff too. But BioBody is just one of the dedicated tone boxes that you can buy, where you don't need and maybe you want to talk about those a little, Sharry. I know there's some for teeth and BioBody and
There's
uh,
one for Corona that really helps people
yes,
breathe. That,
yes,
that
yeah.
a lot of people like, and we just are putting one out for the use of iron to get rid of this fatigue it's epidemic, the fatigue.
Yeah.
The BioBody box has over 400 frequencies in it, and it just goes through your body and through your spine and gives you the frequencies, sort of like a tune-up. So you can get all of the frequency. You turn it on at night through a speaker and just let it go, and it circles through all of the frequencies from the body, all of the muscles, and so all the muscles in turn through the nerves feed the organs the frequencies, and people love it.
Sherry, I've got to tell you something that I found out about the FaceTime. There's a dedicated tone box called FaceTime, and it's, I think, mostly the facial muscles. I don't know exactly what's in there, but I had some dental work done, and used to have a lot of mercury in my mouth, and oh my gosh, too many root canals, blah blah blah. So I had some dental work done, and since I've had that, every once in a while I get double vision. So I finally, it's taken months, but and to tell people this, I was kind of driving. We were driving, and my husband and I was driving, and I started to feel my double vision go into play. And I went, okay, well, he's kind of sleeping right now. Let me just work through this. But I had FaceTime with me, so I put it on, and the FaceTime with the face muscles and whatever else is in there. Obviously, your eyes are right there, and my double vision went away. So I connected what's going on with when it happens with that double vision, when I think it's when I'm tired and my face muscles are tired. And I don't know, I just kind of figured this out. And I shared it on the forum too, I think, or at least with some other folks, that, yeah, that FaceTime dedicated box must put my muscles back into shape and my vision corrects.
I love it. Everything's redundant. I often say, bioacoustically speaking, almost everything is something else. So a muscle for the eye can also be a muscle or a frequency for your spleen or something else. And what we try to do is give people those options. Like if you're looking at insulin, insulin is also inositol. So which is it? Are you having a blood sugar issue or are you having a brain fog? And so putting people's frequencies together with their complaints, and then we set a tone box for them, and they use it at night or whenever they need to use it, and just go from there. But it's not only the frequencies of your body that we're talking about, there's frequencies of your spirit, that certain things go along with frequency. I'll just give you an example instead of trying to explain it. When I first took my vocal prints, my frequencies that I needed was 1855. And we didn't understand that. Now I'm adopted. And when I met my biological mother, her base frequency was 1855. So that frequency, because I was adopted away from her at about 6 months old, I was trying to find it, or trying to bring it back. It's the color orange. It's carrots, for one. And the other thing is, I married a man that had my biological father's same birthday. And birthdays have a lot to do with the cyclical nature of these frequencies coming to the earth. So we can look at who you're compatible with, what kind of lessons you're going to have. Do you want comfort in your relationship? Do you want growth in your relationship? And we can look at all of that. And besides looking for a partner, you can talk to this little computer program that we're going to give all your audience, if they would like it, and classes on how to use it, so that they can say, well, I got 2 job offers, and this job does this for me, and that job does this. And you can see by the balance of your chart what's really the best for you. The most balance in your chart says that you're the most balanced in your heart, your spirit, your mind. Mind, body, spirit, all 3 of those go together to make you a whole person. And we've been taught that down through the ages, that if we want to have an affair and we're married, and your body says, oh, that's not a good idea. But another part of you says, but it feels so good. And then another part says, oh, my mom wouldn't like that. So we have to consider all of those. And this little computer program is so deceptively simple, but it tells you where you have a problem and tells you how you get along with someone else or don't. And a lot of times, not getting along, that's a challenge so that you can grow. And I think that aspect of our lives is so important that that's why I created the program. It took me over a year to create that program. And it tells you what the frequencies mean and who you're compatible with, what organ might be in stress. And over the years, we've just refined it to the point where we now have this portal where people can talk for 30 seconds. Think of that, only 30 seconds. And we were able to interpret what's going on with your body. Now, we can't do things like tell what color your eyes are, but we can say if your eye lens is stressed. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things we don't know, but we're working on it.
And just in some of the work that I've done, the eyes seem to be attached to just about everything. It's amazing the frequencies that come up just in the eye program that I look at for my husband. That's what I was looking through last night with some other ones, and also the glymph, which is another one that you just decoded, which is amazing. People know about the lymph system, but not necessarily about the glymph system, right? And I know you just did a radio show on that. So, if you'd like to talk about, whatever, I'm all ears, but we can talk a little bit about glymph. And then if they want to go further, they can actually even listen to your radio show too.
Well, the glymph system, that's lymph with a G in front of it, really came to light. Well, we were doing a whole series on COVID and what was happening with COVID. And one of the things with COVID is it attacks the ability of the body to detox. And so we began looking at all of this and looking at something called aquaporin. And that's the water in the body that is not in any vessel or organ. It's the interstitial stuff. Like if you had a jar of marbles and you poured water in the jar of marbles, the glymph system would be the water where the marbles would be, the actual meat of your body. And so there is something called Aquaporin 4, and you can buy it at Amazon. It's very expensive, but we can also give it to you by sound, and it goes into the body. It's like a messenger. It looks at the trash that's interstitial, and it tries to pull it out of the body, but it also transports information from one cell to the other. So here's your water moving around the body, and it happens at night mostly, and it happens with a circadian rhythm. The rhythm when you're in deep sleep begins to make this pump or rhythm. So here's your eye as a problem, and it sends the signals to someplace else, and it says, hey, did you know about her eye? We need to send her some extra energy over here. So it moves frequencies and energy throughout the body. I love this glymph system. People can also get a free vocal print of that. And it tells them, do you need aquaporin? Do you need nitric oxide? What do you need to complete your renewal? It's like your body's a garbage dump. And this helps just move all the stuff out. Nitric oxide is a gas in the body, and it's between the meat and the detox system. So nitric oxide is really important for moving the garbage out of the system. And the computer program, it gives you a printout. It'll tell you what you need. Now, it's bioacoustically speaking, we have to say that. And we see things weeks and months ahead of conventional medicine. There's a very famous doctor who asked me to come to his house. I was doing a seminar in Florida, and he wanted his nutrition done. And so I did it for him, handed him the report. He took that report and said, I have a very sophisticated lab, and this doesn't match what's going on. I said, do you realize that we use 16 layers, not just the first layer in your voice, but we look at all the harmonics, 16 layers deep. So let's go look at your stuff 16 layers deep and see what was going on. And what came up was some blood protein inadequacies. And he said, and that's true. I said, but I didn't find it in your voice today. It's in the harmonics, like the music that we found it in. We make music. Human beings made music in the emulation of our own base frequencies. So we can not only look at today, but we can look at months ahead and see what's going to happen, especially with muscles. We can see which muscle is going to go. And that would be great for any kind of sports team to see what's going to happen, because they could do exercises and prevent it from creating an injury. We can't prove that by saying you do this and the injury won't happen. Well, if the injury won't happen, we can't prove that the exercise did it.
Right.
You can't prove a negative, but I think it's a great thing to look at in a person's body. What does your arm muscle or your face muscle have to do with the rest of your system? We're just one big pile of numbers.
Yeah. And the sports teams are good. Everybody gets so hurt all the time. I don't understand, but yeah.
I'd love to talk to people who want to take that on as a project. It's one of the first things we were able to do, because here's an esoteric piece of this and how it came about. I can touch, I'm touching my hand here. I can touch a spot on somebody, and I can hear the frequency through my fingers of that muscle. And that's how we got started of what's going on. We did the muscles first. Well, we did personality first, really. Then when we started to see there was a relationship, we started doing muscles. So we've mapped the whole body. That's what that BioBody box is about. And you can have too low of a frequency. It means it's weak. Too high, that means it's probably inflamed some way. So we can tell a lot about all the progression of the things these vocal prints have taught us. We didn't start out with an idea, except you have a sound. We tried to learn what the sounds were and then put them in some kind of format that everybody could use it. I really think this is some ancient thing and we just forgot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and any esoteric stories that you have are great for this this audience. It's I mean, like I said, it's amazing, and I've been in over a year, and still just it's going to be a lifelong learning, obviously, but it's
It is for me.
amazing. Mm-hmm.
Every time I do some of these charts, I learn something else. But I'll share a story with you. And first, I will show people something. I turned off my camera. Can you see this? 3 pyramids setting on one pyramid and then pyramids inside that.
Yep.
But in the body, there's this concept. In the Bible, there's a concept of the using relationships of 3, 6, and 9. And so that's how we begin to use the formulas in the first place. But I since found out that there is something beyond that. And so we use some of the formulas in the architecture of this picture that they're looking at. When I was 5 or 6 years old, and there's some discrepancy about which one, it doesn't matter. My friend and I, a relative, and I lived in the Appalachian foothills. We lived in a corn crib. We had cardboard. A corn crib has separated boards, and we had cardboard up over those separations. And my brother and I lived in a loft of just boards. So it was a pretty rustic's not even the word for it. And so it was just a rundown old corn crib, because that's all there was. And I was born in 47, so it was just coming out of the war time. But my friend and I were taking a walk up in the woods, and we came across something tall and silver. And on the side of it was this image. and it was dancing. It was dancing in circles. And I thought, that's really strange. And I grabbed her hand and I started toward it. And the next thing I remember, we were walking, trying to get back home. And every step we took, we bonged up over the trees. I mean, literally, we were up over the trees looking down. And I thought, whoa, what if this quits while we're up here? We're going to fall. And I always wondered about that. But I remember that's when I started hearing the sounds. And that's when I started being able to pick up information from people from the sounds. And later, when I was an adult, I think I was in my late 20s, I wrote to Ruth Montgomery because she wrote all these books about strangers among us and what it was like after death and aliens among us. And I thought, I'm an alien because I hear these sounds, and the carrots would tell us what time to pick them. They're ready now. So I was picking up this stuff, but it was scaring me and it was scaring my family. And Ruth Montgomery wrote back. Well, there's two incidents here. Ruth Montgomery wrote back, and because I wrote to her publisher, because there was no internet then. Mm-hmm. And I said, is it possible when a walk-in situation happens, and that's what she was talking about, mm-hmm. when people walk out of their body because they had enough? I said, is it possible that when a walk-in happens, they don't leave? There's two of you in there. And she wrote back something that changed my life. She said, the psychologist, Sharry Edwards. Now, I was not a psychologist, but I was in psychology in school. She said when she and her friend, how would she have known that, found the cigar-shaped cylinder in the woods. And we'd never called it that, but that's exactly what it was, round, tall, silver. And she said when she found the cigar-shaped cylinder in the woods, she agreed to share her body and her knowledge with other dimensionals that would bring sound healing to the world. I still have her little postcard. And I wrote it, and about 3 or 4 days later, she wrote back. And I don't know how that happened because I don't think there was time to get to her from her publisher. People know that she worked in the Eisenhower era and that she decided she was going to debunk psychic ability. And when she tried to do it, there was some guy named Fletcher who started writing through her. And that's how she wrote all these books about walk-ins and death and what happens after death. Mm-hmm. So I looked at what she said, and I immediately dropped out of psychology. And she asked me to be in her book. Aliens Among Us was the next one she wrote. And I just got this image of these little green men, freaked me out. But I thought about other dimensionals, and I thought I'm not so weird, because as a kid, I could pick up things from people, and it scared people for me to be able to know that. But this image to me is that body, mind, and spirit in conjunction, because it's like three pyramids, and one point of one of the pyramids is all shut in together, so it creates the pyramids inside. Mm-hmm. But is it aliens? I certainly glean information and know information that I have never learned. And she scared me enough that I started to go to college, because I thought if anybody's ever going to believe me about this, I need an education. Mm-hmm. Because I went to a 4-room schoolhouse. I didn't have much of an education. And so on my lunch hours, because I worked at the university, on my lunch hours, I took courses. It took me 12 years of lunch hour courses to get through an undergraduate degree. And then they gave me a stipend to go to a master's degree. And I wrote my master's degree on why teach parapsychology. What did we really forget? What do we really need to bring back? And I thought bringing back the idea that we hear these sounds from each other and we don't pay attention and we don't believe them. And we listen to all these oughts and shoulds about advertising and the media. We really need to live from the inside out. And so that's why I wrote the little nano voice computer program so people could learn what was really inside them. And the ancients didn't have all these computers, they had to trust in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we're so busy now with jobs and family and politics and whatever. I thought I'll make a computer program that everybody could use. And so that's how this whole system was born so that we could share it with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is an innate part of who we are as humankind, and I want to bring it forward. And that's why we give a lot of it away,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not their responsibility to believe. It's my responsibility to create a place for them to be able to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And we've just proven ourselves over the last, especially after the last 10 years, because it's become so sophisticated. We can now tell which tooth is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of things we can't do, too. We're
Mm-hmm.
still learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to try and learn just parts of that when I see the different programs that you've the different templates in the portal. You call them the templates. Like you said, you can look at there's a specialty liver one, a specialty ears, organs, muscles. But one thing, Sharry, bring it back to a little practicality also, but esoteric as well. A lot of people suffer from tinnitus,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people think, oh, I'm hearing sounds from the cosmos, or hey, am I just going, are my ears messed up? But you have dealt with tinnitus, right?
We have everybody's different,
Mm-hmm.
um, but we are putting a program together for tinnitus. One of the things that we're offering people when you go through the really sophisticated programs, you learn about how to blend them all together.
Mm-hmm.
And so to the public, we're offering something called biomarkers. So they can go in, even in the free program, and they can push the biomarker tab and they can see what system is in stress. And if it's their ears, they would go look at tinnitus through that. But tinnitus is really in the brain. And so everybody's issues are different. Actin, um, potassium, there's all different. We wrote a whole program about this, about what's making people's ears do what they're doing. But the computer program will tell you. John Hopkins, that I mentioned before, they put a wire in your ear, like a wire microphone, and they can tell what is really going on with your ear. But we can't stick wires in people's ears. I mean, my degrees are in curriculum and instruction. I don't have any medical degrees except bioacoustics, and I created that one. And the other one is dietetics, and that was totally useless. When I took that,
Mm-hmm.
this woman didn't believe in vitamins. Um, I was flabbergasted. I got kicked out of that program so many times for arguing with her, but nutrition is catching up now and looking at nutrients and what's going on and how that keeps our body going.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I have to admit, over the past couple of years, I started buying all this. Oh, you need this supplement and that supplement, and everybody is spending hundreds of dollars on supplements. And I went, wait a minute, how do I know? And I think this is for my nutritional energetics in terms of energy, like nourishing, I call it nourishing the multidimensional body, but it does have to do with 3D, food and supplements. And what I try and tell some of the folks that I know is, how do you know what you need? Well, you can actually know what you need or what is working and not working by putting your voice through, for in simplicity, the nutrition program. You can see what nutrient is stressed. If you need another one to make it work and what is bioavailable, or something that's low. I mean, to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but the lows are easy because I can say, oh, I need a food or nutrient that if it's a low, then it's pretty, then I need that. If it's a high, it's a little bit different because either I just maybe took that one or it's not bioavailable. And what do I need to make that work? So you really know um, or can certainly help you know, is what supplements do I really need or not need, right?
Yes, and we have supplements for anti-aging. We have supplements for autism. So you can really look very specifically at what is going on. But I have to caution people about things that are too high. We give you a chart, and if something is too high, you need to look and see what you don't have to make that work.
Right.
One of our videos, and we have like 30 different videos that have been professionally done. One of them is called Good Vibrations, and you can download this from our site. A little girl, doctor referral, came in, and she looked to be about 10 years old, and she was just out of the 8th grade. We looked at her vocal print, and her growth hormones were too high. That didn't make sense. Why was she looking like she was 10 when she was really like 13? So we experimented with her. It was great. We gave her the frequencies that she had too much of, and it kicked her growth hormones in. And you see in this video, here she looks to be about 10 years old in a little blue shirt, and here she's 13 looking in a white shirt, and it's only 3 months apart. We changed her life. She was, I think her IQ was 71, and she now has finished college and has a family of her own and is perfectly normal. Now, that doesn't happen with everybody because we have to follow people closely, but that's why we want to teach other people to do this, to open community centers so that everybody can have this advantage. Not only what is the frequency, but how to use the frequency that's optimal. And we can't say we heal people. We have to say we support the body to go to optimal form and function. And we've done that with so many people and changed their lives. I want that for everybody. I want a bioacoustic center in every community because I think right now, and I don't want to get into politics, but I think our health system is failing us because they're politically motivated
Mm-hmm.
to not do what's right for the people.
Mm-hmm. And I love combining this with, what if you want to call it energy work as well, because this actually gets you to a step to really know what's going on with your body. And like you said, our bodies have so much that they can do on their own, but it's either been, and when we're, suppressed, or we just don't know, we forgot, and we don't know how powerful we are. And like I said, I found this out by working with my own personal tools inside the bioacoustics and seeing how all this works. I mean, I had a relapse a couple of months ago, but right now I feel the best I've ever felt, and I'm not afraid of my heart blipping out again or something happening, because I know I have immediate tools that I can say, okay, I recognize this now. So I'm going to go take a vocal print. I'm going to see what foods I need, and I can kind of nip it in the bud, um, and get back much faster than just your body knows what it needs, but sometimes it just can't get that. Our food doesn't have the nutrition. We're being bombarded with frequencies all around us. Everybody knows that. EMFs. God only knows what else we're getting from anybody else who knows the things about frequencies too, and doesn't have our best interests at heart. So we are being bombarded, and I want to control my frequencies. I want to say, nope, I don't want that one right now. I want this one.
We want to support this idea of self health, self responsibility, but people didn't have time or the inclination toward doing that. So we have tried to make it very, very easy. And I just thought of something. Why not make a cookbook? Okay, you have the notice C out. What foods should you eat
Mm-hmm.
to get the nutrients that are associated with the notice C or B or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have B out, your nerves are frayed. And so what are the foods that have calcium? That would be a great cookbook.
Well, Sherry, we're actually, sharing each other's next steps because we wrote, my husband and I wrote a cookbook here at the lodge, telling about our lodge history and some of the real food, the traditional foods. I know Sally Fallon is in the Masters of Health magazine. I'm a Weston Price chapter leader, and we've had Sally here for a conference years ago. So my kind of specialty is the traditional foods. I don't care what diet you think you have to eat, just make the foods to have nutrients. So when I created nutritional energetics and nourishing your multidimensional body, you just gave me a kick and went, yes, that needs to be created. So yeah, that's going to happen, and maybe you can help me do that.
I think people would love it. And we also have something called sono cards that if you have this note out, it'll tell you what the nutrition you need. So I will send you a set of those and we'll see if we can get started.
Yeah, that sounds terrific. Yeah, that's been my next step for a while. And like you said, sometimes the universe just, kicks you into gear. And yeah, it's fascinating stuff. I just love my program, and how the 9 levels. And I just want to ask you about one more thing. I could talk to you forever, of course. Fascia. Now you have the different levels of frequencies, electrical, magnetic, blah blah blah. And somewhat recently, you added connective tissue. Now I am also, I don't, I have it over there somewhere in my blocks. I'm took got certified with a wonderful person who works with delving into fascia, and I think that's our light body. So I got certified in you want to call it an exercise program. It's actually all you do literally is lay on a block of wood in certain positions and open up those pathways. So I love combining all this and taking someone's vocal print, looking at their muscles, and not that you can't tell what you need by just feeling it, but it's interesting to take those voice prints and saying, yeah, that muscle is stressed. Let's concentrate on even if the pain is somewhere else. Sometimes the cause site is not necessarily the pain site, or the pain site is not the cause site. So I love looking at the vocal print and saying, okay, these are the muscles that are stressed. You should, if you're doing block therapy, then you should concentrate maybe on, the upper body or the lower body or something, and work on the different muscles that are stressed. So I just love fascia and connective tissue and the energetics around it. And really what I think it's our interface to our energy body and the pathways that communicate with our body.
It's the magnetic potential of the body. Anybody that's ever cut up a chicken, that slimy layer right under the skin,
Mm-hmm.
that's a layer where a lot of the magnetics reside and move. But if people want to do an exercise and just lay still or put a pillow up over your ears, you can start to hear your own sounds. Listen right here and then listen over here to the other room and then listen. You have a ear focus, just you like you have a light focus. And once you start listening to that sound, you can put a white light into your core, my core's underneath my rib cage, and begin to grow that white light. And that white light will go to the spot that has the problem. And maybe it's red and it'll turn white to red and back again. You can clear your whole body through that kind of meditation because we have control over that magnetic potential through our mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll tell you what's out. It'll tell you, okay, it's my shoulder and this happened and that trauma. And use the white light. I sparkle it around and get rid of what is going on. But
Mm-hmm.
there is so much from our ancients that we have forgot, that we have brought back through our music system, all of these different octaves of music. And we're trying to provide the tools and solutions for everybody to be their perfect self.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I said, I could talk to you forever, and I'm happy to have any other stories that you have, but I'll be sure just to share all these links with people listening, anybody, and you can contact me directly too if anybody needs help uh, getting in touch with how to learn this. I'll be starting groups on working with this together in small groups, people who understand. And I always know there's, you and, you know, um, everybody to reach out to learn more as we go through this, because like you said, I think this is the future. People are understanding, even if they don't understand or realize yet that this is possible. What do you do if you, now doctors, there's very few doctors. I know my daughter just went through like 3 practitioners, and everybody is switching and changing. um, and just like any industry right now, maybe you can't find the medicine, maybe you can't find a doctor, maybe the lab is backed up. Not saying, again, not that this can cure or treat, but these are areas that you can learn a little bit of self knowledge. You can see what's going on with your body, if nothing else. And you can go, yeah, there's something different possible than conventional, medicine.
I
So,
would like to encourage everybody to go to the soundhealthportal.com and get their voice done. But also, there's tutorials there that will teach you how to do this. And you can join for free. Now, after a while, it costs $20 a month. But how many nutrition reports could you do for your family
mm,
and find out how much is a nutrition report worth? So we want to encourage people to do that, but also to let people know that there's nothing really wrong with the sounds of your voice. It's a manifestation of what you are.
mhm,
It's what you do about it that makes the difference.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yep. Well, Sharry, thank you so much. Again, we'll again, and you're welcome to tell any more stories or instances if you have them. But I certainly appreciate your time. This to me is, something I'll be doing for the rest of my life, as far as I know. And trying to get it out there too, and trying to let people know it's not, maybe not a scary thing. I mean, and you mentioned, well, we work with frequency as your body. Either is it people who don't know you can, are they afraid you're going to do something to them? But just the knowledge of what can be done, what has been done, what you can tell about your own body, and do yourself. You don't have to, you can do a reading and not have anyone else do anything. But start to know what's going on with yourself, so you know how to react. And like you said, to do things, not, yeah.
I think the ancients knew this, and we just need to help people remember by giving them modern tools to kick them in. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. We have had people come to class, they're they hear the sounds or they're attracted to it, and they come to class and they sit there and they cry all week because they're remembering all the times they used this before. So
Wow.
I don't want to bring up a whole new subject of reincarnation, but this is part of our nature.
Hmm.
And I'm just privileged to be the radio to speak about it. So thank you for allowing me to be on.
Oh no, thanks, Sharry. Wow, this has been great. Thank you so much. God, I just love all this, and yeah, all the stories that and yeah, all the stories that you bring out on, cosmic frequencies and all that sort of thing, with with part of my part of the folks that I talk to is just frequency, because we talk about frequency. And we always, it's like, oh, bring in the frequencies or meditate. Well, to me, what's fascinating is, how does that work? We know somehow nutrition has to come into our body, we digest it, blah blah blah. Well, how does that come in to our energy body? And that's what I'm passionate about, is trying to understand literally the architecture of the how that happens. So that's what I love working with. And I've created my own program that includes a number of different levels of things that I just find it fascinating. So,
Well, I'm glad you're hooked.
yeah.
We need help with other people teaching and training
Hmm.
and bringing this forth. We need all the help we can get
Hmm.
to make this available to the people.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I want to, do, keep putting out podcasts, interview other BARAs, other folks who are practitioners with your work. There's lots of them out there. And sometimes it's who do you resonate with, no pun intended, but resonate with in terms of working with them as well. So somebody might want to work with me, someone might want to work with you, someone might want to work with a number of other practitioners out there. And I know there's a list, I think there's a new list on the site as well, right?
This has been a great interview. You did it from your heart.